Hello, Chicago! Welcome back in to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Oh, that was everything that we were afraid it could be yesterday out in the desert. The Bears fall in terrible fashion to the Arizona Cardinals and are back to 500. Is this thing salvageable at this point? Can even winning fix what's going on with this team? We will break them down and discuss. Elsewhere across the city, we've got not one, but two new leaders on organizations. The White Sox, Chris Getz, has made his decision, and we have a new manager on the south side. And then, meanwhile, downtown with the Sky, Kyler Marsh becomes the third head coach in a little over a span of a year for the Chicago Sky. We will break both of those hires down, get to learn a little bit about the new coaches in town, and see what we think that means for the directions of both franchises. You are locked in on Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. Buckle on up. Let's have some fun. Let's go. And hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome on in to the latest installment to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Adam Karnick. So glad that you are here with me tonight. Glad that we're able to enjoy this show and have some back and forth. Another rough one. We will be discussing the Bears. Of course, that disaster of a loss out in the desert. We will be discussing some new hires in town as well, some new teams there. We'll dive into some of the nuance with all those as well. Lots to get to and only so much time to do. But before we get anywhere, a quick word from our sponsors, and then we will dive on into some Bears talk. Do not go anywhere. Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick back with you as we get started tonight. You heard, first of all, thank you and shout out to all of our sponsors there. Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Seal the Deal Wax Seals. And then, of course, IE Sports Radio, the platform by which all of these shows, including this one, are available and able to be seen, heard, and discussed all around the world. This show is also available for you on social. You heard how IE Sports Radio is available on social media. This show is also available for you on social media at IESRC on Twitter, or you could follow along with me personally at Adam_Karnick. If you're watching live here on Monday night, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, hop on into the chat, drop us a comment, let us know that you're here. I want to know, first of all, do you think there is anything that Matt Eberflus can do to save his job at this point with the Chicago Bears, or is this thing just done and over with already? So hit me up in the comments there on what you think Eberflus needs to do at this point to save his job. Oh, welcome in. Good evening, Wes Trueblood, watching on YouTube. Yeah, it was a very rough one indeed yesterday. And also Ralph Calise watching on YouTube. It's good evening. We were going to try to have an amazing show. Absolutely. We're going to do our absolute level-headed best to enjoy ourselves and have some fun with this show as the Bears lost in, unfortunately, what was very predictable fashion yesterday to the Arizona Cardinals. That was everything that I feared that game was going to be. The Bears came out uninspired, unprepared, undisciplined, and wound up getting run off the field. That was, you could tell They had not prepared all week for that game. You heard Caleb Williams reference it after the game, saying that he thought the team could have done a better job, especially early on in the week, getting ready for the game. And I 100% believe that, because to all appearances, they didn't do anything to prepare for that game yesterday. I commented last week on the show. I talked about, and it was in a little bit of the segment that got clipped to kind of to tease out with the rest of the network. I said, you cannot allow this loss against Washington to become more. You can't let this become 2 games or 3 games in a row that you lose just because you lost against Washington. And that's what they did. They could not get over the Washington loss. You heard the players talking about it all week as they were doing their various radio hits or podcast appearances, talking about all the things that they felt the coaching staff was doing wrong during the Washington game. You had the coaches change the practice schedule ostensibly so that they could have a sit down with the players and say, hey, you've got to keep more of this stuff in-house. We can't be going out there airing our grievances out there live on the radio or on podcasts or on things like that. You've got to keep it all in-house. And then the coaches refusing to take accountability for anything that happened that went wrong in the Washington game. Then you had, which just forced more questions from the media as things weren't getting answered in a satisfactory way. You know, a perfect example of how this could have been better handled. Let's take the Tyreek Stevenson situation as a perfect example. So Tyreek Stevenson, of course, all last week during prep, he was basically public enemy number 1 because of what happened on the final play against Washington. Had his back turned to the play, wasn't paying attention, and then did not play his assignment on the final play. And ultimately it results in a loss. So you have the questions all during the week. Is there going to be a punishment? Should he be punishment? If he's punished, what is fair? What are the Bears going to do? And Eberflus was silent on it. And then finally, Friday night, we got to see the rumors and the leaks come out that, he's not going to start. They're not going to start Tyreek Stevenson. They've made a decision. They're going to bench Tyreek Stevenson. They're not going to make him inactive, but they're not going to start him for the game either. They'll let Terrell Smith start the game. Okay, so then you've got those rumors floating around, and then finally yesterday morning, Jay Glazer on Fox confirmed it. Here's a better way to have handled that, because we found out that Tyreek Stevenson was informed on Wednesday that he was going to be benched. And by the way, I thought Courtney Cronin did an excellent job. Jay Glazer, I don't know if it was intentional on Jay Glazer's part or if it was the restrictions of television and having to get around to the 7 or 8 other major stories that he's got to hit during his little 2-minute segment there in the Fox pregame show. But the way he broke the story was very incomplete. And Courtney Cronin of ESPN did an excellent job of kind of diving into it a little bit more. Tyreek Stevenson, yes, he found out Wednesday morning that he was going to be benched. And yes, he did leave practice. However, he gathered himself, he collected himself, and he came back out to the practice. And the practice was just a walkthrough. So he didn't miss any practice. And players, while they were upset, they were understanding, and they got they got through it. So Jay Glazer's report was not entirely complete. So I appreciated Courtney Cronin kind of setting the record straight and giving more of a complete picture there. But that's kind of getting outside the point. So clearly the coaching staff had made its decision Tuesday night that they were going to be benching Tyreek Stevenson for the game. The better way to handle it, you inform Tyreek on Wednesday, do all that the same, but then Eberflus on his press conference on Wednesday, you let it be known, we have decided as a coach, I have decided along with the other coaches and with the understanding of the players' leadership committee and with the player himself, that Tyreek Stevenson is not going to start for us on Sunday because of his actions on the Hail Mary against Washington. I have spoken with him about it. Defensive backs coach John Hoke has spoken with him about it. He understands that this is not acceptable and this will not be tolerated. At the same time, we need him. He is one of our starters. He is one of our more valuable pieces in that secondary. So he will play, but he is not going to start. Terrell Smith is going to start, and we'll see how much playing time Tyreek gets based on how well Terrell Smith does. And then you take questions, you get it out, and then on Wednesday, it's done. It's over with. Everybody knows what the expectation is. Everybody knows what the standard is. And everybody moves on from there. Instead, you have this mealy-mouth, spineless, wishy-washy coach that refuses to commit to anything publicly because he's worried about, I honest to God, I don't know what. I don't know what Eberflus is worried about at that point. Why not tell everybody so that you can move on? Instead, the way he handled it, there was no closure until you got to kickoff on Sunday. Or I guess if you want to be at Friday. But still, that's a week of players having to field questions, guys having to sidestep the subject, guys having to go around it. And you still don't have that accountability that's going on. This is just one example of this. And that all just leads into the way they played on Sunday. They weren't prepared. They were not going to have a good game. And I see Alden jumping into the chat room. Very well played game by Arizona. Yes, Caleb does need an offensive line. That is a problem. Eberflus is now 3-18 as the head coach on the road. And in fact, none of his 3 road wins, and none of them have come on a Sunday. They've all been in primetime games. He's got 2 Monday night wins and a Thursday night win on the road, and that is it to his name. Wes checking in here, saying that Eberflus is worried about losing the locker room. I think he's lost the locker room. These things definitely wouldn't be happening if this is a healthy organization. I think he has lost the locker room at this point. That's why I asked the question at the top of the show. What do you think? What do you, the listener, think Eberflus has to do at this point to salvage his job? Because I think he's lost the locker room. A perfect example was the 53-yard touchdown run to end the first half against the Cardinals. That was backbreaking. That was devastating the way that went down. How the Cardinals, honestly, the Cardinals weren't trying to score. They were as happy to go into the locker room at the half up 14-6 as the Bears were happy to go into the locker room down 14-6. The Bears had some momentum, They were going to be getting the ball first, and it's all right. This first half went very poorly, but you're only down one touchdown. You've got the ball first. You can get back into this thing with one good drive. And then that run where players were out of position, guys weren't fighting off blocks. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, in my opinion. That was what ended the game yesterday, was that 53-yard touchdown run to close the first half. Darren Rodriguez chiming in. He's stymied that Eberflus is still employed, that Eberflus should be joining Dennis Allen. Yeah, we had another Eberflus outlasted another coach. The Saints fired Dennis Allen today. Looking at this game, we're going to get into the Eberflus stuff here a little bit more in a second. This game yesterday, though, there are problems with the Bears that have got to get addressed. On the offense, yes, I know they are down to their backup, their backup left tackle and their backup right tackle, because Darnell Wright went down yesterday. So you got Braxton Jones is down, Darnell Wright is down, Tevin Jenkins is always in and out. They have problems on that offensive line, but you've got to figure something out. You've got to Caleb Williams, since coming out of the bye week, Caleb Williams has looked awful, and that's putting it nicely. He hasn't even completed half of his throws, and some of his throws have just looked downright terrible. I know he doesn't have a line in front of him. I know he's getting absolutely no time to throw. He's averaging about 2.5 seconds before he has to throw the ball. But you've got to figure something out. And you were hearing rumors this morning from Brad Biggs that the Bears players would like Shane Waldron to be replaced as play caller. And then Eberflus doubling down today saying no, that Waldron's going to remain the play caller. There are problems inside that building for Bears, and you've got to figure this out, and you've got to figure it out fast. This thing is unraveling like a cheap suit. We've seen it enough times. We've seen what it looks like that we're starting to know it when we see it. Eberflus, I feel like, has lost the locker room between guys not fighting off that tackle. We've got that play of DJ Moore circulating social media of DJ Moore potentially giving up on the middle of a play where now I'll be honest and I'll be fair, and I will have a critical eye. That to me looks as much as a player feeling some tightness in his leg and saying, "Ooh, I'm right by the sideline. Do not throw to me. I won't be in a position to catch it." And so he gets himself off of the playing field so that Williams doesn't try to throw him the ball. But it could also very easily be, "Man, I'm right here. You're not throwing me the ball. Screw it. I'm getting out of here. I'm not putting myself on the line for this." You've got Caleb Williams questioning the way practice was going on last week for the team. There are problems. There are problems with this team for the Bears. I think Eberflus has lost this team. I don't know how. I genuinely don't know how he fixes it. You've got a favorable opponent this week. You've got the New England Patriots coming into town next. It's the first home game in over a month. The Patriots are coming in having lost to the Tennessee Titans. Yuck. You've got a rookie quarterback in Drake May that's like most quarterbacks, is being up and down. The Bears should absolutely beat the Patriots this coming Sunday. The Bears are the better team. They should have been the better team against the Cardinals. I would still argue they're the better team than the Commanders, but I'm willing to have that debate. I'll put it that way. But this coaching staff, we've seen this enough times. We've seen this enough times with the Bears where they wait too long to get rid of the guy. We can recognize it when we see it now. You know, this is the same thing that happened with John Fox. This is the same thing that happened with Matt Nagy. And it's now happening with Matt Eberflus, where they held on to him for an extra year. And this thing is falling apart. Wes wondering if they might get a new offensive line coach before a new offensive coordinator. I don't think they get rid of Shane Waldron during the season. I don't think that's something that they'll do. I could maybe, if they lose this week against New England, that's 3 in a row. And the old adage is you lose 3 in a row, you've got to change something. You've got to make a change somewhere. I could potentially see them stripping Waldron of his play calling duties because the players are asking for it. Then you'd have the quarterback coach or the wide receiver coach or somebody else then take over the play calling duties. I don't know that that necessarily solves anything. It might just be change for the sake of change. But I don't think Waldron gets fired. If you want to quibble and pick nits about it, is losing play calling duties effectively firing an offensive coordinator? It might be. That's a conversation that's worth having at some point. I don't know necessarily tonight if that's the time to have that conversation, but that's a conversation worth having. Is it effectively firing the head coach, the offensive coordinator, if you take away his play calling duties? But I think Shane Waldron will still be collecting paychecks from the Chicago Bears through the end of this season. That's how I'll state that. As far as Eberflus, the Bears have never fired a head coach in season before. They came damn close with Matt Nagy. You know, remember they were all set to fire him after Thanksgiving against the Lions a couple years ago. And word got out that that's what they were going to do. And so they didn't like being scooped. So they decided, we'll show you, we won't fire the guy that we've already decided isn't right for the job. That'll show everybody. And so they kept him. I think it's possible that Flus gets fired. Until the Bears do it though, I can't predict it. The Bears are that's one of the things where the Bears are just too stubborn of an organization that they just won't do it. I just don't think they'll do it. I think they will hold out hope that this thing will turn around and that he can get the job done. And it'll be, well, we've never done that before. That's not how we operate. So we're not going to do it, but something's got to change. Something's got to change because this is it. You've got New England this week, and then everything gets real. Everything gets very real for the Chicago Bears. I don't know what Flus does short of making the playoffs in convincing fashion. I'm not sure what Eberflus can do to keep his job. Darren, as long as the Bears don't bring back Luke Getsy, things can't get worse, can they? Yeah, Luke Getsy is now unemployed. So if there's any of you that rejoicing over that, former Bears offensive coordinator Luke Getsy was fired last night by the Las Vegas Raiders. So he hits the unemployment line. We'll see what happens there with him. Fields may unfortunately have not been the answer, but Getsy definitely wasn't part of the solution. We know that now. Things are a dumpster fire out in Vegas. Oh my goodness. But hit me up in the comments in the chat. What do you want to see from Matt Eberflus in order to get him to keep his job, if at all possible? We're going to take a quick break, and then we've got some new faces that we have to meet around town. We've got some new coaches with teams. So we will introduce ourselves to those coaches. You are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We will be right back after this.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
And welcome back on in to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Talked a lot of Bears there during the first half of the show. Once again, if you've got thoughts and opinions on what you want to see out of Matt Eberflus over the course of the rest of the season, hit me up in the comments. If you're watching live tonight on Monday night on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, let me know in the comments what you'd like to see from the Bears head coach in order to make him stay in the job. Wes Trueblood commenting he wants to see the defense play up to the standards that they have set. That's a bare minimum for me. Is you've got to see the defense. You can't see the lacks or the loafs or the problems there with the team. You've got to see the defense giving 100% effort all the time at the very, very least. We've got some new coaches to meet, though, in Chicago. A couple of new faces. The first one we're going to start with is one that actually is a little bit familiar to the Chicago sports scene already. That is new White Sox manager Will Venable. Will comes over most immediately from the Texas Rangers organization. He was the associate manager, if you will, basically the second in command there at Texas for a couple of seasons with the Rangers. But he spent some time in Chicago already. He's a former player. He was an outfielder. When his playing days were done, he actually came and worked for Theo Epstein and the Cubs for a couple of seasons in the front office, and then was the Cubs' third base coach for a couple of seasons before moving elsewhere. So Will Venable is already somewhat familiar with the Chicago sports scene, but he now is the 44th manager in White Sox history. He is all of 42 years old. So again, a younger guy. They had gone with a younger guy with Pedro Grifol, and going with a younger guy here as well with Will Venable. Will Venable's had his name out there for a couple of seasons now as an up and coming name to watch, somebody to keep an eye out for, an eye on. So I like that Chris Getz looked outside for this hire. He didn't just go to Jerry and all right, Jerry, tell me who in your list or who in yeah, the other old guy up there that now I'm forgetting I'm blanking on his name. Who's the old tried and true that you're going to want me to bring in? Who are you going to approve that it was a safe insular hire? This is going outside. This is going outside the organization. This is looking around baseball a little bit and bringing in somebody that doesn't have ties to the White Sox, doesn't have ties to anybody in the front office already. I like that, if just because the way the White Sox have done things for the last 5-6 years has been so bad. Hopefully this is a way to jumpstart the organization a little bit and inject some new ideas, some new life, some new thoughts into the program. Now, you've still got to be willing to listen to those. You've still got to be willing to hear what it is they're telling you. Jerry, we've got to develop more of an analytics department. It can't just be 4 or 5 people. It's got to be a dozen. It's got to be 15. We need these things. We need those things. You've got to be willing to hear that and not just go, well, that's not how the White Sox operate. That's not what we do here. But it's a great start by going with Will Venable. Will had an introductory Zoom conference on this past Thursday. Going to pull some quotes here from him. I look at all these jobs and opportunities as a challenge. I don't think there's one managerial job that is easy. All these jobs come with their unique challenges, and I'm excited about the challenges that are presented here with this group. Yeah, you're going to have challenges because the Sox Chris Getz has already said he does not anticipate spending in free agency. This was already a relatively inexpensive team and a roster that's littered with holes, and they're not expected to go out in free agency and spend much, if any, money. So you're going to have a team that's bad and not fundamentally sound again. So you're going to have your work cut out for you right out of the gate. Quote, I've been on teams that have had to work hard to overachieve, and that's a mindset and mentality that I'm comfortable with. I've seen that work at even the highest levels. Well, you know that Reinsdorf loves hearing that. Oh, great. You're somebody that whatever, the nice way of saying that is whatever roster you give me, I'm going to make sure that the minimum is we get 100% out of everybody. And we'll maybe even get 110% out of some people, maybe even 110% out of everybody. So you know that every team likes it. And then let's be honest, every team likes hearing that from their coach or manager, that it's, hey, we're going to get 100% effort on everything that we do. And there's going to be focus and attention to detail. Chris Getz on the hire, quote, the thing that stands out with Will is the consistency. He can control his emotions, and it makes him an effective communicator. When we're talking about managing a major league club, regardless of the state of the organization, there's always obstacles. There's always adversity. He's got the leadership qualities to be consistent throughout a season, but also through consecutive seasons. So that is new White Sox manager Will Venable, young guy, just turned 42. I like that the hire comes from outside the organization, that this isn't just, he's got kind of a sort of tie to Tony La Russa, but this doesn't scream of Chris turned to Jerry, who turned to Tony, and Tony found an old crony or somebody that's a disciple of an old crony and said, this is what we're going to do, because then we can play baseball like it's 1984 again. You've got a guy that studied with Jed Hoyer and Theo Epstein with the Cubs, two of the more advanced modern minds in the game. So he gets a little bit of a background and in fact, he thanked and name checked Venable, meaning name checked both of those guys when talking about how he began to think that manager could be a job for him. They said it was Theo and Jed that pointed out to him that said, we see a future manager in you and we want to help make that happen. We want to make that a reality if you want it. And so that's strong, what you're seeing there. It's there's a ton of work to do for the White Sox, obviously coming off of a 121 loss season where you were not just the worst team in baseball, the worst team modern baseball has ever seen. It's one step of many, but it's a very important first step. There's a lot of more things that need to be done and need to happen, but it's a great first step for the hire. We're going to take another quick little break here, and then we've got another new head coach to meet at the professional level, and we've got a collegiate coach to meet as well. You are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this. Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies,
And your one-timers,
you wicked wristas.
and be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson,
It's your boy Lentarius Locke.
and we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
And back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick here with you for another 10 minutes or so of the show here tonight. So we met Will Venable of the Chicago White Sox in the last segment. He is the new manager for the White Sox. He was not the only new head coach to get introduced, to get named this past week. The Chicago Sky, they have had a lot of coaches recently. They have been going through coaches left, right, and center. Well, they've got a new one here. Tyler Marsh takes over for Teresa Weatherspoon, who was here for just the one season. And Tyler Marsh comes over from the Las Vegas Aces, who have been the cream of the WNBA the last couple of years. Head coach Hammond has put together a terrific staff, a terrific team, a terrific organization. And so the Sky plucking one from the Aces here, trying to get some stability. Tyler Marsh is now the fourth head coach in the last 3 years for the Sky. You've got to have some stability if you want to at all get things turned around and back to the glory that was just a couple of years ago when they won their first and only WNBA championship at the end of the 2021 season. Boy, that feels like a long time ago, doesn't it? Oh my goodness. So let's meet Tyler Marsh. The last 3 seasons, he's been an assistant in Las Vegas. His titles included assistant coach, head of player development. He's regarded as helping to develop Asia Wilson and Jackie Young to really help take their games to a higher level for the WNBA. He has spent some time in the NBA as well as an assistant. He worked with the Indiana Pacers and the Toronto Raptors. He's also bounced around the G League a little while. A statement from Marsh after he was announced as the coach, quote, "I'm so grateful to be the next head coach of the Chicago Sky. Thank you to Jeff Pagliocca, Michael Alter, and all of Sky ownership for their belief in me to be the next leader of this franchise. I'm looking forward to building relationships with our players and throughout our entire organization as we work towards establishing a championship culture on and off the court. Thank you to Mark Davis, Nikki Fargas, and Matt Delson for the opportunity to be part of the greatest sports organizations in the world. Thank you to Coach Hammond, our staff, and all of the Aces players for allowing me to make history with you as we brought the city of Las Vegas back-to-back championships. I love you all and wouldn't be in this position without you. So Marsh comes in and inherits a team that's definitely rebuilding. Now, the Sky have some assets to be working with here this offseason. They've got a couple picks in the first round. Now, they do owe a pick swap with Dallas, I believe. So even though Chicago is in the lottery, has a pick in the lottery, there's no chance they'll wind up in the lottery. Dallas has the right to swap first round picks with Chicago. So if that Chicago pick is better than Dallas's pick, guess what? Dallas is going to take the better one, I think, unless they are feeling incredibly generous out of nowhere. But you've also got the beginnings of what could be a core in place for the Sky with Angel Reese and Camila Cardosa. Two bigger bodies, low post. Angel Reese reset NBA rebounding records. Cardosa was coming off of some injuries to start the season, but she's shown that she's got the ability to play down low and some rebounding chops, but also some offensive prowess as well, some shooting touch in there as well. The Sky, just like the Bulls, anytime we talk about the Bulls in the NBA, and they're playing the Jazz tonight, we talk about how the Bulls need to get better at three-point shooting. The Sky, same problem. They need to do better with their three-point shot. They have got to take more threes and make more threes. That's something that they've got to do. They've got to work on. But it's something that we'll see with Marsh's history of developing and working with players, not just necessarily needing to have great players to start with, but can mold and work with some guys. We'll see what he's able to do with the crew that's in front of him, what more he can pull out. Plus, then you've got some assets to use and possibly continue building this team. I don't know. They missed the playoffs this past season. First time in 6 years they'd missed the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be ready in 2025 to compete for a championship necessarily, but hopefully we will see the right pieces in place. We'll see the right moves all around and be able to get a sense that things are trending in the right direction, that they'll be able to have some stability. They haven't had this over with the Sky. This is now 4 head coaches they've had since 2021, since that championship. They're also working on the new practice facility and home base, which is a something that all WNBA teams are trying on and working on right now, improving their facilities. There's a lot going on with the Sky, and they need some stability. They need some normalcy in that organization. So hopefully Tyler Marsh will be able to provide them with that this season. And, obviously the best cure all is always to win games and everybody will be happy. You're willing to overlook problems. Look at the Bears just a month ago. They were on a 3-game winning streak and everybody was happy. Yes, there were problems under the surface, but they were under the surface. Everybody was happy because you were winning. Same holds true here. You win games, people will be happy. And that will help to just correct some of the chaotic culture that's been with the Sky these last couple of years. We do have one other coach that is new as well. Taryn Rodriguez is going to be coming up right after us, breaking down everything volleyball. Loyola's men's volleyball team has a new head coach. Shane Davis comes down from Northwestern, from coaching Northwestern's women's volleyball. So Coach Shane Davis staying in Chicago, going from the Big Ten to going now to the Atlantic 10 to coach Loyola Chicago men's volleyball. We'll see how that helps the program. The Loyola men's team has been pretty strong the last couple of years. I know Taryn will have more thoughts and be able to give a grade on that hire, but it sure feels like a strong hire for the Ramblers. So good things going on there for Loyola Chicago. I realize I've got to push an extra button here, so bear with me just a moment before we close out of here. That does it for our show here tonight. Some big shout outs and thank yous all across the board, of course, to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Follow them on social media, Instagram at Planet Jerky, or go to planetjerky.net to place your order. They are still offering free shipping on all orders of $50 or above. It is delicious. You will enjoy it. You will like it. Holiday season is coming up. You're looking for a stocking stuffer or an edible bow to put on top of a present. This is good stuff. You will enjoy it, and the person receiving it is going to love it. I promise you that. Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. Follow them on Instagram at _wax seals. You can place your orders by going to iesportsradio.com/seal the deal wax seals. Speaking of IE Sports Radio, IE Sports Radio, you can follow them on all the social media platforms. Follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter at IE Sports Radio. This show and all the shows of the network, if you're not able to listen live every week, or you know of somebody that, boy, I think they'd really enjoy checking out this show, anywhere you get your podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, Amazon, they're all there for you. Just search IE Sports Radio, search Chi-Town Weekly, you'll find the show. Let people know this is something you listen to. That's the best way that you can say thank you to me, or say, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you to Larry B., the czar and overlord of all things IE Sports Radio. All the hard work you're doing behind the scenes, sir, it does not go unnoticed or unappreciated. Thank you to everybody that commented in the chat room here tonight. Karen Rodriguez, Wes Trooprud, Ralph Calise, Alden. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with the chat room. Finally, thank you guys for being here listening. We'll see you next week.